Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
And today, James, is Clash of the Correspondents Day. Truth be told, this should be the most listened to podcast that we put out, because if anybody's ever looked in the Planet FPL Correspondents League, all of them are beating you and me at FPL. And so if anyone's advice is worth listening to, it's theirs. Can you introduce our guest?
Listen, we're doing all right. I've seen green arrows in that league recently.
Yeah, when you're 15th, 16th out of 20, 22 teams.
It's all right. It was about 19th and 20th a couple of weeks ago, mate.
Go on, introduce our guests.
We are joined today by our Liverpool correspondent, Dan at FPL_Loco Lord. How are you, mate?
Yeah, all good, fellas. You guys?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Dan.
Are you sober or drunk, Dan? Just check in.
I'm sober, mate. Okay. Yeah, I've not been back from work long.
I just didn't know if you were still celebrating, that's all.
No, anti-climax, I think.
We'll get to that. And we're joined by Ted at Rotation FPL, our Chelsea correspondent. How are you, Ted?
I'm not too bad at all, mate. Thank you.
Good stuff. Now, obviously, we're pre-recording this Monday night. We should say just before kick-off of Manchester United and Southampton, which could, particularly for Ted, affect the Champions League race a little bit. But we want to get you two on, obviously, to look ahead to the fixture next Wednesday in Gameweek 37. But we thought it was better to do it now to get in thoughts of Gameweek 36. And we'll come on to Ted, especially because everybody seems to be in a mental breakdown about what to do with Chelsea ahead of the fixture against Norwich. But we must start with you, Dan. Many, many congratulations. How are you feeling, pal?
Yeah, good. Like I said before, a bit of an anticlimax, really. I don't know. It's surreal. I don't even feel like it's happened.
In what way?
I don't know. I don't feel like kind of we're champions. It's like it's not been celebrated enough, obviously by a few at the time. But I don't know, just because of a bit of the whole COVID and the fans not being able to be there. It's a bit underwhelming.
I think you might feel differently next Wednesday once you see him lift the trophy, mate. Maybe
yeah,
as
hopefully.
Well.
Hopefully.
Then you've got the visual. I know that we discussed this when you come on the 24-hour that is unfortunately not going to be what you wanted it to be. We know that, and then you've come back a couple of weeks ago. You've won the title last week or 2 weeks ago. With the help of Ted's team. Obviously, that made the whole difference. Bloody hell, watching that Chelsea-Man City game, I will come on to that, Ted, must done your brain in. They spent the whole game talking about fucking Liverpool. Did my head in, mate.
I hated that so much.
It's like nobody else existed. The two teams having a great game of football, and anyone wants to talk about Liverpool. You probably didn't mind so much, Dan, but I think it did everybody else.
No, I did feel for Chelsea a little bit. I was thinking, no one's talking about how good Chelsea were tonight.
I know, tell me about it. It was bad.
Those fan views that he puts up on the screen.
And the Liverpool fans
up. It was cutting to Liverpool fans each time.
I think I know what's causing Dan's issue here, Dan. Because the real trophy you want to win is the FPL Correspondence Trophy. And you're top of the league at the moment. So trust me, when you win that, it'll be way more satisfying than Liverpool winning the league, I'm sure.
Right, okay, I'll try and hold on to that top spot.
You wait and see.
I've got Tom texting me all the time saying, I'm coming after you, I'm coming.
He's always on the case, Tomo. Dan, if you win it, I'll buy you an Asterix T-shirt, mate. No, come on, man. You must be feeling positive. Is it a little bit in terms of the results have been a bit underwhelming since you restarted as well? I mean, for your standards, underwhelming is what I mean by
that. I don't know. It's kind of affected me a little bit more, COVID, not kind of personally or mentally, but the kind of just the whole restart and stuff. I've just not been able to get into it the same. It's weird without fans. We underestimate how important fans are to football matches, and it's just gone to show how different it makes the whole experience.
You can't understate it. I mean, I said before restarted, you're not going to watch a game that's going to make you feel like it's game of the season or the best game you've ever seen. You've got no chance of getting that sort of football match under this climate. It's not the football we wanted. I think in hindsight, the one thing I'd add, I said this when I recorded with Asmir Begovic, is it is the football we needed, though. It was better than having no return at all. And I've got a lot of sympathy with a lot of the players at the moment going through it. And I think we forget that a lot of the time. And for yours as well, particularly, Dan, in terms of what you're feeling a little bit anticlimactic about things. And we discussed that before, that it might feel that way for you. It probably feels that way a lot for the players as well. I think that's why when Chelsea won that night, it became like such a big deal in terms of the scenes you were seeing around the stadium, the scenes from the players with their interviews when they'd obviously had their meet up and watched the game, etc. It felt like there was more being made of it than there really should have been, because to the rest of us, you won the title like 8 months ago, mate.
Yeah, I think as it's been so long, you know, we all kind of knew it. When we beat United, for me, that was when we'd won it, when we beat United. But it was like, until it's actually official, you don't take anything for granted. Otherwise, you know, you just never know. I mean, I couldn't see us not doing it after that United victory. So yeah, it's just been waiting really, and it'd have been nice to have done it against City, but we got spanked instead.
Can happen, mate.
Yeah, well, everyone's got spanked by City. The only team worth watching, I think, after restart.
I don't think you're being harsh on yourself there, mate. Because she was good against Palace, she was good at Brighton, and I thoroughly enjoyed what I could see of the game on Saturday as well. I mean, by the hour mark, you should have had the game won twice over, as I said.
Oh yeah,
yesterday.
we absolutely battered them. They weren't in the game. Pope played well. We just didn't take chances.
Is it a disappointment that's because I think it's kind of one of the things got missed over the weekends. Obviously, you'd won every home game prior. Is there a disappointment in that?
No, not particularly. After winning the league, that's what we wanted. You know what I mean? Even if we lose the last 5 matches, it last, you know, when we came back, it wouldn't have mattered. That's all it matters.
You know, if you feel disappointed, Dan, you can always come down to my place and watch Mourinho, or you can go to Suj's in a different postcode and watch David Moyes. Or Ted, is there any questions at the moment around your manager following that at the weekend?
I don't think so. I mean, look what we came into at the start of the season. I've got no complaints at all. I know some fans do, but I have zero at all.
I knew you'd say that, because why have people got this disappointment at the moment? I think it's kind of catch-22 in the sense that points total-wise, he's not been good enough this year, but that's the same for 19 of the clubs, basically. But if you'd said before the start of the season, you'll be in this position with the transfer embargo, etc., Lampard's first season in the top flight, you'd have taken that all day long, surely.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think at the start of the season, a lot of fans were talking about, you know, top 4 wasn't really realistic. We just wanted to sort of build this season and get ready for the next one. But I think it was just because we started so well and so many of these players that had come up from the Championship looked like Premier League quality that everyone's sort of forgotten where we are. Like Mason Mount is often thought, it's his debut season, and everyone seems to forget that. He's looked at as some sort of professional that's been doing it for years. But we've got to have some realistic expectations, I think.
There is talk. You could say that Chelsea have the best crop of youth talent coming through in the league, really. And the thing with the Chelsea boys, if you look at James and Tomori and Mount and all of these guys, Hudson-Odoi, they've all now had a little bit of experience. Some of the Arsenal guys now are breaking through a little bit, but they've had nowhere near the number of games as the Chelsea youth have had. And if you're talking about building for next season, I mean, you've already got Werner in the bag and Ziyech and whatever else is coming through the door. So, yeah, you've got to, if you're looking forward rather than looking backwards, you've got to be positive as a Chelsea fan, and the negative ones I don't understand at all.
Yeah, I hate it whenever you see Frank Lampard out or whatever trending on Twitter, because it's just utterly ridiculous. It is so silly, but we've got a bit of a reactionary fan base sometimes, and these things do happen. But I mean, our youth system is superb, and we're only sort of scratching the surface. There's more players coming through all the time. Ian Martin, for example, a left back, I'm convinced he's going to be great. We've got Conor Gallagher currently at Swansea, who's doing well. We've got so much talent coming through.
To just quickly, we're talking about young kids. The boy, did he go to Charlton and then Bristol City? Is it Jada Silva?
Bristol City, yeah.
Yeah, what happened to him?
I don't know. I haven't followed him at all ever since he left. But he was certainly looking...
Is he not your player anymore?
No, we sold him. For ridiculously cheap.
Oh, okay. Ignore that bit then. I saw him in a youth cup against us a couple of years ago and looked like the next Ashley Cole, mate. Looked incredible.
He's fantastic, yeah.
I wonder if the Lampard stuff, it feels like every time there's a criticism, it seems to relate back to tactical issues. That's how it feels. But then we seem to overlook the tactical brilliance of the counter-attack that night against Manchester City, for example, which doesn't seem to get spoken about. Do you just think it seems like it's just laboured that it's inexperience and it's always put down to tactical? Because I think there's a lot of stuff on Saturday that you might want to go into which went beyond tactics, I think.
Yeah, I think another one you talk about is that Spurs game that we had where we beat you 2-0. I was really impressed with how he set up to sort of nullify you there. I think we have games where Frank gets it absolutely perfect. Some of his substitutions recently have been dead on what we need. There's other times where it seems a bit sort of like he's just guessing what should work. Saturday was a great example of that. We changed formation at least 3 times, possibly 4. And that was a little bit worrying there. It was starting to look a bit like Frank doesn't quite know what he needs to do. But I think for the most part, I think he's been fantastic on tactics. I don't get why people seem to be targeting this about him. He doesn't look like a manager that's never managed in the Premier League before.
If you think you finished 5th, is there any chance there could be a change?
No, not at all.
We'll move it under the carpet then. So what are we all doing for Tuesday, mate? Because everyone wants to buy one of your players but doesn't really know what to do.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Lineup leaks will help a lot. I'm sure we will get them. But the only one that I'm going to go with none of them, to be honest. The only one I'd be looking at seriously would be Christian Pulisic, of course, because he's been superb recently. I'm not interested in Willian at all. I think that's something you might see from quite a few of the sort of Chelsea FPL Twitter accounts. It's very dependent on set pieces. It's just not something I like at all in my midfield. If I was on a free hit, I'd be looking possibly at Alonso if he was to start. I don't think he'll start, but if I was picking the team, he would be starting for this game because of the way Norwich set up. And possibly Giroud as well, even though it's pretty much guaranteed he'll come off early.
It's these leaks before you say. I mean, it's helpful to have a leak, but also it's sometimes a pain in the arse because it's 5 minutes before kickoff, the deadline, let alone kickoff, and then you're kind of scrambling. Do I? Don't I? It's one of those where I feel like make your decision on the ones you want and have a plan B in case they're not going to play. So, like you've just said, design your free hit with Pulisic and Alonso in it, and then have a plan B. Should either of them not play, this is what I'm going to do as my backup in case the leak happens. Because I've seen people panicking with 5 minutes to go. If you haven't already made your decision and you're going to bake it in those final 5 minutes, inevitably you're going to do something naive or rushed.
I spend a lot of time on Fantasy Football Scout, obviously, and each week I see people making these sort of crazy decisions. And just because they see someone that's not going to play, they end up bringing in someone utterly ridiculous as a replacement. I think, what was it, before the double game week that we had, I saw someone bring in Billy Sharp and stuff, and I just couldn't fathom that. I think there's way better options. I think it's something people have got to consider, that everyone's going to miss games at this point. If you're on a free hit, obviously, get rid of the player. But I think I'm really not a fan of these team leaks, by the way. I don't like the idea that some people have got more information than others. But I think you've got to react sensibly to it and not just get caught up in the moment.
I think this feels like one, though, particularly where people want to use it, because it almost feels like with Liverpool to come next week as well, and then finishing with Wolves' final day, for a lot of people, it really does feel like 1 week punt. So that's why, I think ordinarily people go, if you were playing Wednesday, people have then got the decision to make, right, okay, do I want to take a chance on Pulisic? And I agree, from an FPL perspective, he's the only one I'd be considering as well. Do you want to take that gamble? And then you take that gamble, but if you can get the information, if he's not starting, and then decide, well, I'll roll or something else, then people are always going to use that advantage, I think, Ted.
Yeah, that's true. Just on the topic of this being a 1 week punt, I'm not fully convinced that this is the right time of the season to be making 1 week punts for anyone. I know my free transfers are already locked up in moves that I need to make. I really wouldn't be wasting them on 1 week punts at all. But also Chelsea don't have to be a 1 week punt. Liverpool's defence isn't the same. It's still a very good defence, but it's not the level it was earlier in the season. And we all know that Wolves can, they can leak some goals. I think if you've got a Chelsea attacker like Pulisic, go with it, I think.
Dan, thoughts on that? Defensively, any change in you, do you think?
I think Robertson might have sobered up now, so that's a plus.
Yeah.
He's giving Nico some time, isn't he, at fullback? And Trent's missed out. Gomez has looked a bit off. I mean, maybe Virgil's as well, really, but he can get away with it, can't he? He's that good. Yeah, I think they're still a decent side defensively. We have struggled against Chelsea last few times we played them, though. They put us out of the cup, and they were the better side. And even in the first league encounter, I think we won 2-1, but I think we were relatively lucky. So yeah, I fancy Chelsea to do all right against us.
Interesting. Do you own any Liverpool players at the moment, Dan? I'm going to take it you do.
Only Trent.
Only Trent, and is that the way it's likely to stay? Do you think?
Probably Trentless soon.
Wow. Well. Okay. What's the thinking now?
I just can't trust the 11s anymore. I can't trust that it's a lot different playing football when you've nothing to play for. The focus goes and everything, and it's gone. It's gone from Liverpool to a certain extent. They've still got the same intensity, and they're knocking it back nicely. And there's some good individual performances, but to be at that really top level that they've been all season, you need that focus, and I think it's just kind of slipped a little bit.
So would you advise then, people have got sort of Salah, Mane now, would the advice be to sell?
I think there's better options with the fixtures that are knocking about. I hate to say it, but United have got brilliant fixtures, and if you're, I'd take Martial, Fernandes over either of them two at the moment.
I think that's the argument, isn't it? You can have the two of them for Salah and a 4.5, for example.
Yeah, but you load up on City as well. I mean, City are just banging everyone. I mean, my midfield is literally two United and 3 City.
I think that's going to be lots. I haven't got anything offensively from Liverpool either. I mean, but I got Robertson back in prior to the Brighton fixture. Because, I mean, I can't bear to watch you play without Robertson in the team, to be honest, when he's not drunk. And to be honest, that's part why I did it. I thought, well, he's been so pissed for these first 2 games since he won the title. He's got to sober up at some point. And, even he's returned the assist against Brighton and then the goal against Burnley at the weekend.
That was a great goal against Burnley.
Yeah, terrific header. And then with Trent is just someone I wouldn't be remotely bothered about the fixtures personally. I just feel like I'd absolutely want to keep. What's your thoughts on those 2 fullbacks, particularly, Ted?
Yeah, I've got Trent currently, and I'm a pretty decent fan of him. He's always got a little something in him. I remember, what was it, that game where against Leicester, where he just picked up a ridiculous amount of points. He's always got that in his locker, which I do love. And I was really impressed by Robertson last week, actually. He looked a serious danger. But, I mean, outside of them, it's not the same Liverpool, is it? Earlier in the season, we'd be all over Salah, all over Mane or whatever. But I've currently got Salah, and I'm getting rid of him this week, almost certainly.
I think it's the budget, isn't it? There's money to be saved, and you can then spread it. And a bit of rotation risk across your entire team means you need a reasonably strong bench to cover it off potentially.
I don't know about budget, because there's so many people at the moment that are just ridiculously cheap. You've got Foden,
yeah, that's
Greenwood,
why Salah just ends up. I don't know. Do you think you could get away with not losing the likes of Salah then?
Yeah, I think so. It's just more that I need to get as many City attackers and many United attackers into my team, really. I'll have, of my front 7, 6 will be from those 2 teams.
I'm the same.
No-brainer.
With regards to that as well, what you have to take into consideration, and is what I did, I took out Salah for Sterling, and it was purely for mini-league purposes. None of the 6 guys above me had Sterling, but they all had Salah. So right. you kind of play your leagues as well a little bit, and you're looking for them little differentials. There's no point in me having the same team as everyone else, otherwise I'm not going to claw that gap.
Yeah.
And that's what you've got to look at as well. Are you looking to kind of consolidate your position, or are you chasing? And it's kind of time of season now where you've got to look at that, because games are running out.
I really lucked into
Salah could have had an hat-trick easily at the weekend. Easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any game.
Yeah.
I really lucked into Andy Robertson post-restart because I free hit in the first game week after the restart, and I got rid of both of my Liverpool defenders at the time. I re-inherited both my Liverpool fullbacks in Trent and Robertson for game week 31, which was the 4-0 against Palace. And Robertson then reminded me, oh yeah, there's a reason why I've got both of these two guys in my team, because he picked up a 9-pointer. He's then obviously benched previous week, still picked up an assist, scored again. I just don't see how I can sell him, even though I am tempted to lose my Liverpool assets. They keep giving me points. It just doesn't make sense to want to downgrade any of them.
That's the dilemma you have.
The defensive ones, anyway.
That's the dilemma you have with them. So I was almost convinced that Trent was going to get rested at the weekend, and he did. And I wasn't going to play him for that reason, but I thought even if he gets half an hour, he could get me a goal and an assist. So I'll leave him in there. And in hindsight, I shouldn't have done, but never mind.
I disagree with that. I kept him, and I was like you. I didn't think he'd start either. But to be honest, I was rubbing my hands together when he was coming on. No fear of the 1-pointer. All right, that's what it's turned out. But just know that Burnley are going to be defending the box, and he's going to keep swinging the thing in. So he's always liable at any point, and it honestly wouldn't run through my thoughts to get rid of either Robertson or Trent at the moment, personally. What we sitting here in fear in Arsenal. We got to say about that.
Spurs
is that
can
the
beat
fear?
Arsenal, can't they? So yeah.
Well, exactly. If we can beat them, they ain't very good, are they? So I would, to be honest, I would expect you to go there and put in a show in. I always feel with you, Dan, that the anger will come out. I think that's why the Villa game was really surprising, because I really expected a reaction from the City game, and it really was tame. But then it's easy to look at it and go, right, Liverpool weren't at their best. Why was that? And the why was I think on that particular occasion, as we highlighted on the podcast, was that Villa that day actually set up brilliantly tactically to try and nullify you and spring you on the counter-attack. But it's so rare that someone can do that. One team that might be able to is Ted's, who's obviously shown in some of the big games this year that you do counter-attack well, mate.
Yeah, we definitely do. We've got the speed on the break, for sure. And if we are playing with potentially, wing backs or something with Marcus Alonso, I mean, is there anyone in the league that would want to deal with Marcus Alonso charging at them for 90 minutes? We've definitely got potential there. And I think both Willian and Pulisic benefit from when we're on the break. Tammy Abraham, of course, loves it. He's been quite poor recently, though. But I think it's definitely a good chance that we could give them a serious scare at times. We don't have to control the game. That certainly helped us against City.
Do you think you're suited to that at the moment, part because of that, what you said in terms of controlling the game? You don't seem to have any problems controlling games when you play, let's say, smaller opposition. But I feel like the team's missing, and this probably dates back to when Mata was doing really well during the early parts of the decade. It's felt a long time since you've really had a number 10 in there that would really kind of dictate, if you go back towards further like Zola and that. It feels like the squad hasn't had that type of player for a really long time. Do you think that's perhaps part influence on that?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely spot on. I think Ruben Loftus-Cheek could be the guy to do something like that. Certainly we've missed a player that's got that sort of midfield penetration to break lines that Mata did have. I think the incoming Ziyech could definitely do that. He's sort of built to play like that. He'd like to come inside a bit more. But I think otherwise we're sitting with a midfield. The midfield three that I absolutely despise is Kante, Jorginho and Kovacic, because I just don't see anyone there. They're just going to sit in the line, and I don't see any sort of attacking threat from them. When you introduce Mount, he's good, but let's be honest, he's no star number 10 man at all. So I think there's a bit of an issue for us, especially when you get people that just start man-marking Jorginho, and then that midfield three just shatters immediately.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that, though, because I think most people, if you ask them name the best three, would probably name those three names together. I know what you're saying. You also feel like Kovacic, for me, I thought was outstanding first 4 or 5 months of this season. Hasn't been quite the same since, in my opinion. I know what you're saying in terms of those three together, it might be stronger, but then against the weaker sides, doesn't really have the creativity. And at least someone like Mount will get close to Abraham or Giroud, for example. Do you have a favouritism in terms of who plays up front at the moment between those two, Abraham and Giroud?
Right now, the best forward we've got is Giroud, and there's no question about that. Tammy Abraham was dreadful at this weekend, and he's lost so much confidence. I think it's something like minutes per pass received is the worst in our team, or something like that. He's really struggled. I just feel like he's too stationary now. He used to drop deep quite a bit and letting the wingers run off him. But now he seems quite happy to try and sit behind or alongside two centre-backs. And he just gets blocked out of the game. As soon as number 6 or whatever moves in front of him, that's him done. So I much prefer Giroud. But I think long-term, Giroud is definitely not the answer. I really rate him, but he's not a Champions League forward for us at any
He's 33 years old as well, so he's knocking on a little bit in terms of age as well.
Jamie Vardy's shown that he can keep going for as long as you need. He's not showing any signs of slowing down at all.
It's the pre-game port on Red Bull, though, mate. That's the absolute key differential there. I think one thing, I don't know if you agree with this or not, Ted, but the one thing I always harp on about is I just think Giroud is better for the other players in terms of like Pulisic and Willian and that. I think his link and the way he brings other players into the game, I think he was very underestimated at that when he was at Arsenal, actually. Do you agree with that at all? Or do you feel like Abraham offers a different in-behind option?
Yeah, they both offer different things. They're suited for different games. I think the Sheffield United game was definitely a Giroud game there. I do agree that Pulisic looks a lot better when he can play off Giroud. They sort of link up a little bit better. But I do also quite like Mason Mount and Tammy Abraham passing up. Willian is he's a great professional. He will work well with anyone, I think. Certainly with Tammy Abraham, I start getting the feel that we drop into a 4-2-2-2, where Pulisic's very happy to push up alongside Abraham. They start sort of getting in each other's way a little bit. Willian's happier to sort of either push to the wing or drop back a bit, sort of asymmetrically, and move alongside Mount. And I don't like that when it's Abraham. When it's got Giroud there, and he is a seriously underrated Premier League striker, one of the most underrated, I think, going. I think our team looks just so much better when he's on the pitch. I think it's no coincidence that we tend to concede a lot less goals when he's playing.
It's interesting you talk about conceding goals because you've not had any real problems scoring goals this season. I think, okay, Liverpool and City aside, it's only Leicester have scored a couple more than no one else has. But of the top 10 teams in the league, you've conceded the most goals by quite some distance with 49. And I know if you think about Rudiger, Tomori was a decent kind of player coming through, Reece James, Azpilicueta, Alonso. You've got depth there at the back, but to concede 49 goals, and you've got probably who's considered the best holding midfielder in Kante. I know he's been injured in front of these guys. It's strange to see you concede so many goals.
I think there's a lot of reasons for it. Kante isn't the superhero that he's considered to be, I think, in recent seasons. He does incredibly well and he works really hard, but I mean, his stats aren't crazy. I think Jorginho's tackling stats are better. I think Kovacic's tackling stats are better. But I think when you look at our centre-backs, it doesn't take a footballing genius to work out that there's some serious problems going on there at the moment. And Kepa is, I think, unquestionably the worst keeper in the league, I think. He's absolutely horrifically dreadful. And I mean,
it's only because we sold Roberto. If we still had him, I think he'd probably give Kepa a bit of a run for his money.
Roberto doesn't count, mate. Like, genuinely.
I mean, you can use stats to sort of prove whatever point you want.
But right, yeah.
There's a lost cause.
It sounds ridiculously harsh from you, Ted, but I've seen the statistics recently, and on so many metrics, Kepa comes out like 20th. It's staggering for a guy that was bought for, and I know it's a shame that the money always, but it will. You did pay X amount of money for him, 72 odd million. So people obviously expected something massive as a replacement for Courtois. Are you giving up on him then, or? There's got to be a keeper in there somewhere. I mean, that save he pulled off at the end of the Palace game was top draw, mate.
He's one of those keepers where he makes the easy look absolutely impossible, and then will occasionally pull out absolutely stunning save. He's had a couple in, I think, the Champions League where he's played really well. But yeah, I just don't see him as our keeper going forwards. I think he could get away with one more season purely because we're trying to solve other problems. I know we're linked with Onana quite a bit from Ajax. But I just don't see him being our keeper. He's shown on far too many times that he's got to keep us in games. He's got to be awake, like Alisson and Ederson are, to danger. And sometimes he's just completely fast asleep and looks lost.
Mad. Do you think they'll replace? Have you already spent the money this summer?
That's the problem. Is it's not a great time to try and replace Kepa. I think the links are getting stronger. I would certainly like them to replace him, but I think the most likely scenario currently is that we'll have Kepa for one more season, because currently, left back, centre back, possibly someone like Havertz is currently ahead on the pecking order.
Your keeper, Dan, one of your best players this season, mate. I think he was cheaper. That's probably part of Ted's rotation and that, and he's top drawer. But he actually, when we talk about Player of the Year awards, I think people are quite split in terms of, it should be a Liverpool player, but don't really know who. Alisson never seems to get a mention. Is he actually worth a shout to say he's Player of the Year?
No. He was better last year than he was this year, I would say. He's missed some matches. Player of the Year, KDB, there's no doubt about it.
That's big, Dan.
No doubt about it. It'd be a tragedy if someone else got it.
Really?
Yeah, of course it would. He's a different class, isn't he? You know what I mean? You sit and watching, or best midfielder on the planet without a shadow of a doubt.
I think the majority of people should sit down and look at it coldly and say who's been the best individual player in the league this year. I think you're right. It is Kevin De Bruyne, but there is obviously a feeling in terms of what you've done that one of your boys should win it. I mean, would you have a preference? Is Henderson, Mane?
I think Henderson, for what he brings to the team, maybe. You know what I mean? We struggle when he's not there. From individual performances, though, I think Mane's been the best player. The stand out with fantastic performances every now and again. I mean, Jordan's just steady. Every match he's an 8 out of 10, plus. And when he's not there, he's missed. And mainly for I think it must be his job. He's a good talker, and he talks people through it, and just keeps everyone on their toes all the time. And as good as Virg is, I don't know if he can do that the same.
I was going to say, is that not true for VVD? Because I feel like take VVD out of the team, and maybe you don't win the league this year. Whereas, take Henderson out, you could fill in with Cater or Ox or whoever else steps in. But VVD's irreplaceable. You don't win the league, is my kind of thought on VVD.
Probably not. I was talking more of kind of an organisation kind of point of view. Ability wise, you lose Virg, and we probably don't win the league. City have struggled with Laporte, and he's their main guy. I wouldn't put him in the same bracket as Virg, Laporte, but he's City's best centre half, and they've struggled. But it was more just kind of his influence on the pitch with the other players, not so much his influence on the game. And Virg is obviously a little bit different. It's his ability that stands him head and shoulders above everyone else.
The best centre half you've ever had, Dan?
I reckon in my lifetime, yeah. Obviously, football's changed. I was always a massive fan of Hansen. He was a good ball-playing centre half, but I don't think you can even compare it. I mean, he doesn't have a weakness. He's a man mountain. He's fast. He talks. He can pass. He's got the control of a bloody number 10. He's brilliant.
He's the best centre half in the world, Ted. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'd absolutely love to have him at Chelsea.
Who wouldn't?
How much, Dan?
Yeah, we'll have Salah and Mane while we're at it.
Nah, he'd sell everybody else first before they sold him, mate. Jesus. How everybody laughed at that 75 million now in hindsight. I mean, wow. Yeah, I worry for you, Ted, next year on the defensive if there's no change there. Because it just seems to be chopping. I mean, that even that Rudiger's out the team now, because I always feel like he's the most secure one, but I think playing with Christensen is no good for him. I don't think it's good for him mentally because he's thinking, I'm a bit worried about this fella. And Christensen's a good ball player, I think. He's a decent centre half, but he's another one, I think. Was it Mönchengladbach he was on loan at?
I can't remember, man.
But he had a great year in Germany. I think it was massive hopes when he came back prior to the start of the previous season. And he's just not really kicked on. He looks like, do you know what he looks like to me? And this is the biggest criticism I can give him. He looks like someone who would be very suitable to play for Arsenal.
I think,
he'd slot straight in.
Yeah, I think that's fair. There's none of our centre backs at the moment that I look at and feel safe when we're defending. I think Zuma has looked exceptional recently, but Rudiger has a number of seriously concerning mistakes in him at the moment. I don't like him at all. I prefer Christensen and Zuma as my partnership. I'd much prefer Tomori and Zuma once Tomori's back. But I don't know who there is on the transfer market at the moment that we can buy. I know Kubiali or whatever his name is going around at the moment. He's been linked to City a bit, but I don't know. Other than that, there's not a huge amount going, is there?
He's hugely rated, Koulibaly from Napoli. He won't be cheap. He
Very
will be
good player. He's a
very,
beast.
very expensive.
We've got money. We've got a lot of money at the moment.
We know, Ted, we all know how you got here, mate. I know it's before your time. You're only a baby, really. We all know it's because of money.
I wonder what Liverpool are going to do.
What'd you say, Ted? Sorry.
We've got that Hazard money burning a hole in our pocket at the moment,
Is that not just what's been spent then on Ziyech and Werner, or?
We haven't spent too much. We've only spent, 70 mil combined for the two of them? So we've got the Hazard money, we've got the Morata money, which is another 50 mil, plus whatever we were going to spend. Plus we'll make a ton of, we'll sell off a bunch of people. Please say we get rid of Danny Drinkwater, but
Danny Drinkwater's still your player. Love it.
Just keep loaning him out.
Just burning another Winston Bogard hole on their salary. Love it. No, but you actually raise a very fair point there, Ted, because it's felt like there has been a shift over the last 5 years or so where you've not spent money in the same way. I think it's easy to forget that a lot of the Van Dijk and Alisson money came from Coutinho, and it's easy to forget now that the Werner and the Ziyech money comes from the Hazard sale, basically. So I think everybody feels like that Chelsea have decided, right, we're going to go and spend mental again. But I think you're kind of saying that's not really the case.
Yeah, I think I'm ridiculously biased, but it's a bit unfair, the stick we get sometimes. The last few seasons, we haven't spent as nearly as much as people seem to think. And we certainly, we spent a transfer window now where we didn't buy anyone because we couldn't.
You weren't allowed.
Exactly, yeah. We've now sold a bunch of players and we're going to sell some more, I'm sure. We've got a serious war chest going at the moment. It's not just that Roman is pumping he is pumping tons of cash in, but it's not just because of that.
I think you're going to be fun next season, mate, particularly if you don't do anything with that back line. Which you're going to score a shitload of goals. I know that. You'll be fun to watch, mate.
It's not going to be good for my heart at all. It's going to be awful.
Yeah, no, listen, it'll be great. And Dan, I take it the motivation is obviously really to go and do it again, hopefully in front of crowds.
I would think so. I think as long as Klopp's there, the motivation will always be there. And he just gets the players going. They'll run through brick walls for him. So I don't have any issues there. I do worry a little bit that that you've got to strike while the iron's hot, really, and maybe add to the squad a little bit. And they don't seem to be wanting to spend any money. I mean, Werner was on a plate if we wanted him, and he didn't for whatever reason. Hopefully, that's like an Mbappe kind of reason, but who knows? I just want them to spend a little bit and strengthen a little bit, because some of the kind of backups just aren't good enough.
The last couple of windows, you've kind of sort of done your business quite quick and early. Like when you brought in Minamino and that kind of stuff, you would have looked at Liverpool and said they're doing their business the right way, not last-minute.com deals like I know Arsenal seem to be getting a bit of stick in this pod, but when they seem to buy players on deadline day and rush it, Liverpool have done their business early. So you'd like to think again this summer that they'll be doing the same again and get one or two in that they need, and that's it, and then not waste the rest of the summer. Not that we're going to have much of a summer, but not waste the rest of it trying to chase players.
Yeah, I just think we'll need to replace a few. There's a good chat. Well, Lallana's almost definitely gone.
I'll have him.
Shaqiri will go. There's a lot of talk about Divock going as well, which none of them I'll be bothered about that much. I mean, I love Div for the Barcelona match, but other than that, and the derby, but other than that, I'm not bothered that that we lose them. But we do need to replace, and we can't expect the replacements to be Ryan Brewster or Curtis Jones. You know what I mean? We need someone with a bit of experience as well, because all it takes is 2 or 3 nasty injuries, and then we're down to the bare minimum, and you've not got that kind of competition as backup. Where the other teams, if you in my opinion, the other teams, if you're looking at, your Cities, Uniteds, Chelsea to a certain extent, if you take away the defence, their squads are so much better than Liverpool's. The depth, we rely on our first 11, maybe 13, 14 players. Whereas other teams, your City, you've got 17, 18 who can make a difference for that team. We'll struggle if we don't get a few, I think. We don't want to be right up there now and then just take it for granted that we're going to do it again next year. We need to strengthen a little bit.
That said, I think one of the really underrated qualities of your side this year, particularly probably up until New Year's period, was quite often you didn't have a clue what Liverpool's best midfield three was. And from week to week, it didn't seem to make much of a difference, actually. And whoever came in seemed to do a very good job, actually. But I think now you see the importance of Henderson. I think in certain games you see the importance of Fabinho. I think ideally you want the two of them both in the team because it allows Henderson to drive on then rather than if he's the central of the three. And I think we've discussed it many times, Dan, about a little bit like with Chelsea. If there is one thing missing, it's that spark. And I don't really want to mention Coutinho again because we've done it before, but it is the one sort of type of player that it feels like in central areas when teams put a block up against you. And this year, you've always found a way. And me and Suj have said so many times, Liverpool have adjusted now and will always find a way. But it's the one thing that it does feel like it's missing a little bit to myself.
Yeah, we mentioned it last pre-season, didn't we? And I was hoping that Naby would step up a little bit or Ox would finally kind of, realise his potential. And neither of them, I mean, Ox, they both had their injury problems as well, to be fair. But, yeah, we need something. And, there's lots of talk about Thiago, who I think is a fantastic player, but he's not that kind of player we're talking about. He's a Xavi kind of player. He'll just keep it ticking over, one touch, boom, out again, back and forward. We do need, the creativity comes from the fullbacks and Firmino. And if they're not there, we will struggle. We need that little bit of something in midfield who, a bit like Coutinho, but I can't see that happening.
No, agreed. I think what you mentioned there about Firmino is another key thing about that Villa fixture to go back to, because he didn't start that game, did he? And it becomes
stuck out
obvious
like a sore thumb.
A little bit, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you got any
another worry? This is what I'm saying about depth. Say we lost Firmino for 3 months, 2 months. I mean, we've been lucky, touch wood. We've avoided injuries, long period injuries for the big guys. But all it takes is one of them, and that's he's the linchpin of that side from an attacking point of view. And without him, we look a different side sometimes.
Interesting. He's so important for the other two, Salah and Mane. So pivotal to him. Can I ask you, Dan, have you got any Chelsea players in your FPL side?
Bought Azpilicueta in a couple of weeks ago. That didn't turn out very well, but my reasoning behind that is I hate him. Is that player? It was Ashley Young, my most hated player, but now it's Azpilicueta, and with him kept racking up these points, he was annoying me even more. So I just thought if I get him in, at least if he's racking up these points, I can't hate him even more. And Pulisic, I've had him for a while, and I'm tempted to bring Giroud in for the Norwich game. Again, just one of them differentials to try and claw that gap in the mini leagues.
Interesting, but you think you won't, Ted?
Yeah, no, I don't think I'll touch them at all. If I was going for a defender, it would be Aspi. But I mean, we've got great fixtures. Well, we had great fixtures, but we can't defend. So I just can't warrant bringing him in.
With respect to them, though, it's Norwich team that hasn't scored since restart.
Yeah, well, he hasn't scored for however many months now. I would put good money that he's going to score this weekend. We seem to be helping players at the moment. Yeah, I think if I could fit him in, I'd get Pulisic, but I can't, so I won't.
I think that's probably the line that I'm going to be on at personally as well. Yourself, Suj, you letting a dive in?
I'm still holding Pulisic, and I'll hold Pulisic in through the Norwich game, but then I'm going to dive off. I need to downgrade Pulisic to give me money to get Aubameyang for Jimenez. So I'll be holding Pulisic, but I'm not going to be getting any more in. I've only got my 3 free transfers now between now and the end of the season. I'm not going to bother getting another Chelsea player. No.
How many do you think the rest of us have got, mate?
No, but you've got a free hit in your last week still to use.
Have you not got yours?
No, I used mine in the first week back, didn't I? When you benched me.
Shame.
Yeah, it is.
Ted, just finally on the team for Norwich, I realise it'd be foolhardy to try and predict the 11, but do you think there's a chance because of what happened Saturday, the team will be stronger than originally intended?
Possibly. We still got quite a bit of time between that and the cup game. I think it's 5 days. I know United have got 2 less days. So I don't think rotation was going to be huge anyway, to be honest. I think we'll see a few people come in. I'm sure we'll see Giroud, might see new centre-back Kovacic as well. But other than that,
your instinct would be, for those who definitely can't use Rockstar or whomever else at the deadline, you think Pulisic and most of the regular starters will still play?
Yeah, I can't see much rotation going on, to be honest. I'd like to see more.
I agree now, yeah. I agree with that. So, yeah, don't hang Ted if he's wrong. You can blame me. Let's do some predictions, shall we? We'll start with Dan. Go on, Arsenal away, mate. Prediction?
2-1 Liverpool.
Yeah, I'll go the same, I think. Ted, for Norwich?
I'll go 3-0.
Yeah, I thought you weren't keeping a clean sheet, mate.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think more likely than not that we'll keep on, but I don't know. I've kind of fancied Hernandez possibly to give us a couple of worries, but we'll see.
Okay, yeah, I think 3-0 is about right as well. I don't think it would be silly. I think about 3-0 sounds about right to myself as well. And obviously, you play each other next Wednesday as well. Dan, you're the home team, so thoughts ahead of that?
Yeah, difficult game. I'd be happy if Liverpool rolled over, really, and let Chelsea win and United finish 5th. Now that City have got that Champions League game back again, I'll be happy if Chelsea turn us over.
So you're more bothered about them not getting in than you getting to the 100 points?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Do you not care about it at all, the 100 points?
Nah, nothing.
Wow.
You've said that
even
before as well.
3 wins for 102 points.
Yeah, great. We won the league. It's been 30 years, mate. Honestly, I don't care if we win it on 40 points. You know, if we won the league, we won the league. It's been too long. I'm of a generation where I've suffered it all. So, I'm just happy to win the league. I don't care how many points we do it on.
Every time you feel like you're suffering, just think of Suj, honestly, mate. And Ted, thoughts of the game next Wednesday?
Yeah, that'd be a tough one. I think we'll put up a good bit of a fight there. I'd give a 2-2 perhaps. But yeah, I fancy us to put a decent showing.
I just think the occasion of that night when it comes round will be very big for the Liverpool players. There'll be certainly no lack of motivation for that one, knowing they're going to lift the trophy afterwards. So I would expect them to beat Chelsea. Do you think, Ted, top 4, you'll get it?
Yes, I can't see us finishing ahead of United. I can't see them losing now. But I think we can beat Leicester to get into 4th.
Yeah, Leicester. What has happened there? That's another story for another podcast. But yeah, I'd be very, very surprised, Ted. Even though I think you'll probably get beat at Anfield, and the Wolves game is difficult. I'd be surprised if Leicester got more points than you. To be honest, at the moment, I expect them to get beat at Sheffield United this week, and then I think you're opening up a gap again. To be honest. And Dan,
I think people are sleeping on Sheffield United at the moment. I think people are sort of not giving them the credit they're due. They have shown repeatedly this season that they are a tough team to beat.
We've tried. No one's going to find you see all them montage videos of everyone predicting them to finish 20th. You won't find me and Suj in any of them, mate, because we thought from the start that they would stay up. My favourite one, Ted, is your old boy Jason Cundy on TalkSport, who rocked up about a week before the season and went, "Yeah, they've got championship players. Yeah, they've got a flat back 4." And I'm like, "Oh my God, mate, you've never even watched them play, have you? Please stop talking." Anyway, less said about TalkSport. Cheers, guys. Really enjoyed that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us on Clash of the Correspondents. As always, it's always great to get insight into the clubs. Dan, it's nice to speak to you after you've won the league. Congratulations again. And also to you, Ted. I know you've had a few painful days as a Chelsea fan, but I'm with you. I think there's a lot of positive times ahead for your guys, especially if you can get the youth really ticking and stuff. So really good insight from both of you guys. James, do you want to tell everybody what they've got left to look forward to this week? Because it's still only Tuesday.
I shall. Yeah, we'll do Sky. We'll get it out as early as possible tomorrow. Thursday, I'll be streaming on YouTube. Friday, we'll do a full review of Gameweek 36, all 10 fixtures ready to go for the 4:30 p.m. I believe deadline of game week 37 on Saturday. Patrons, plenty still coming every day.
9 fixtures on Friday, James, because my boys won't have played because we play in the evening.
Sorry, you're easy to forget. And we all know anyway, if Villa and Bournemouth both lose, that you're just both going to play out for fucking 0-0 anyway.
The most boring 0-0 ever is telegraphed for this Friday night. So, guys, thank you for tuning in to the podcast wherever you're listening, whether it's iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify. Just make sure you subscribe or hit the notification bell if you're on YouTube so you'll get alerted as soon as we put any content out. And if you need even more Planet FPL content, head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL, where we're releasing additional podcasts every single day for our patrons, as well as mini leagues, Slack channel, and a bunch of other stuff that people can enjoy as well. It just leaves me to say thanks again for listening. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Ted. Good luck for the rest
Cheers,
of the
boys.
season. Good luck Sunday as well, Ted, in the Cup semi. Cue music, please, man child.